Welcome to our today's class. In our today's class, we want to look at creating payroll. In one of our previous class, I tried to introduce lookup functions to us. Now, we are going to use, in today's class, we want to use the lookup function to create a payroll. Let's look at this situation. We have the name of the staff, we have the account number of the staff, we have the bank the staff is operating, the department, then we have the grade level of the staff, and we have the level and step of the staff. In some settings, especially like the government setup, you have a situation where somebody is in level 7, and let's say in that level 7 is in step 1, and there's a situation where somebody is in level 7 step 2. We have a situation where somebody is in level 8 step 1 step 2, like that. And in each of this step and level, there are changes in their salary, there are changes in their basic salary, there are changes in their housing allowance, medical, transport, social security. Now, if you have a situation like this and you want to create a payroll for workers like this, and now I have, let me say I have over 10,000 workers that I want to pay. Now, I can use this method to create a payroll. I've done a payroll like this for one of the government parastatal using the lookup function, and which is working perfectly for them. Now, what we want to look at in the lookup function is this. We want a situation where the lookup function will look up the level of the person, look up the step of the person, and then based on the step of the person, the level and step of the person, then it will be able to give out the basic, it should fetch out the basic salary. So let's look at this. For instance, now we have something like, let me say, let's use our VLOOKUP here. We have something like equal, the VLOOKUP function is equal VLOOKUP. When I start typing it, it show up and I can press my tab key, and then what it requires is the value I want to look up, and the value I want to look up is the value that is entered here, and then that is going to be followed by the table array and followed by the index number, and then the other one is optional. Now, if in case you have not watched the VLOOKUP video, I have left a description of this video. I've left a link of this video in the description below this particular video. So what we want to do here now is let's create a range where our table array is. So to do that, we are going to use this now. I can create the range. This area here, this is my table array. Now I can give this area a name using my range name. In case you have not watched the video where we talked about range name, in the description below I've left a link to that video. So all you need to go to your formula bar, your formula menu. Under your formula menu we have defined name. Click on defined name, and Excel is asking what name do we want to give that range. We want to call this range step. So we've given this name a range step. So that is the range, the table array that we are going to use for the lookup formula. So here we use equal VLOOKUP. I press my tab key, and then it's asking of the record, that is the value to look up. The lookup value is what we have in cell G3. So I'll put G3 there and followed by comma. Then the table array. The table array, we say our table array is step. So that is the range we just created now. and then it's asking what index will it find that very record. The index is index 2, and then comma, followed by the optional value there. So I'm putting 0 there and press my enter key. Now you can see it fetch the record. Now this index number I used 2. Let me explain where I got the 2. This was our table array. Now the table array have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns. So what we need is to do is, what column is it going to find it? It's not in column 1, it's in column 2. And remember, lookup formula, we always look up to the right hand side. So this very value we are using to look up now should not be at the left hand side. Lookup, we always look up to the right hand side. So try to watch that video on a lookup, the basic lookup that we did earlier. So now what have we done here? We have just gotten this now. So if this changed to, let me say, this changed to 7 point, this guy has been promoted to 7.2. Basic salary for 7.2 is supposed to change. So you're supposed to look at the basic salary for 7.2 automatically and fetch the record for that 7.2 level, 7 step 2. Now let's look at this now, housing allowance. The housing allowance, if you look at the table array, the housing allowance is in index 3. Index 3, while medical is index 4. This is index 5 and this is index 6. So now the next one we want to look at is the housing allowance, and the housing allowance can be found in index 3. So now let's try that and see. The same thing we've done before. Just use equal. Let me zoom this a little bit. So let me zoom this a little bit so that we can see it clearly. Oh, we have now equal VLOOKUP. I press my tab key. Then the value I want to look up, the value is in cell G3. That is this value here. So I put G3 there, comma, then followed by the table array. We say we name our table array step. So we can use that very name of the table array step, comma, then the index number. In this case, the index number is index 3. Then comma, followed by the optional value we have there, close bracket, and we'll press enter. And this gives us the housing allowance. So the next one we have is the medical allowance. But if we use this to drag, will it work? It will not work, because if you look at this now, the values are changing because we have H3 here instead of G. It's changing now to what? H. So, but there is something we can do there, which is called, we've not, okay, let me not take us into, we call it absolute lock, absolute reference. So we'll talk about that maybe in one of the future video I will make. We'll talk about absolute referencing. So let me not go into that so that we will not get confused of absolute referencing. We can use absolute referencing to get this solved, where we can just simply drag across. So watch out for a video that we are going to do on absolute referencing. Now, what we need to do here is equal the same formula we used before, VLOOKUP, press my tab key. Then we are now going to look at the value. The value we want to look at is G3. So G3. When you use absolute referencing, it's going to lock that formula to that G3, so that even when you drag, it's not going to change. It will remain in G3. But let me not take us into that. So the next thing we want to look at is the table array. And the table array is step. So then followed by the next one is the index number. The index number for this very one is index 4. I think so, index 4. Okay, so the last one is optional. I can decide not to put it, and I press my enter key. So this one now is giving us the medical allowance for this particular step and this particular level. Then the next one I want to look at is the transport allowance. We can use the same thing, which is equal our VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP, press your tab key, followed by the cell G3, then followed by the table array, and our table array is step, comma, the index number is 5, then I close my bracket and press my enter key. So now you can see that here now what we need to do now is, if I change this now to any value now, whatever step and level this person is, automatically our VLOOKUP will help us look for all the figures that are supposed to be meant for this particular person. So we can do the same thing, we can replicate the same thing for all the other column. Then when we come to, okay, let's do this very one, which is the social security allowance. And we say our social security allowance is index 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Index 6. So let's just add this very one, which is equal VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP, press our tab key, comma, followed by the cell, which is G3, comma, followed by the table array, which is step, comma, followed by the index number, which is 6. I'll close my bracket, enter. So this is our social security. Now the gross. How do we get the gross? The gross is a summation of all of this. So we can simply enter a formula there, which is equal sum, open bracket. What are we summing? We are summing all of this to give us the gross. So when we do that, that will give us our gross. Now the tax, the net is going to be gross minus the tax. So how do we do that? We can do this equal this minus tax. That is gross salary minus tax, and that will give us our net. So for instance, if this guy tax is, let's say 450, 540, automatically it will calculate it and give us the net for that particular person. So this is just a very simple format that we can use to create a payroll system. Now, if I've done this now, let's say I have so many workers that I want to pay. All I need to do with this now, all I need to do is, if I have the name of all those people there, for instance, now I have this name here, and I enter the account number of this particular person. And let's say I enter the bank, then the department. In one of our previous videos, we look at how we can create drop-down list. In case you have not watched the video on drop-down list, how we created this, the link is on the description below. You will see a video on how to create this drop-down list. So if this guy is in account department, we can just simply select account department, then the level of that person, and then the grade level, and then the step of that particular person. So now let's say we've done this, and I have the names of all the workers. Let me go over to this sheet now. I have the names of all the workers here. Let's say I have over 1,000 plus workers. I can just simply come over here now, just copy this record, which is already existing maybe in a database or in a separate sheet. I can copy this record like this now, take it to my payroll, and then come over here, paste value. Now I've pasted all this record now. Let's say here I pasted over 1,000 plus. And I want to replicate this particular formula to everybody here. So what do I do? All I need to do is, let me reduce this a little bit so that we can see everything. So all I need to do is to use my autofill to drag down. So if I use my autofill, for instance, now I use my autofill here and then drag it down. If I drag it down, automatically it's going to fill all the numbers, I mean all the payroll for us. Now if you see anyone showing something like this NA, it means that it was not found. It means that that was not found. So for instance, now if this guy is in this particular one, that automatically will fetch in that record. So if this one now is in let's say this one is in okay, let me copy this, and for instance now we have these guys here, they are in this particular level, so we can get that record like that. In one of our previous video, when we were introducing lookup formula, I told us that this is one of the loopholes in using lookup formula, because lookup formula will throw you NA when the record cannot be found. But then in lookup formula, you don't have a means of getting rid of this MA directly in the lookup formula, though there's a way we can get that done by combining this function with another function, that is if error. We'll look at that in a separate video. If error we can, or if NA, we can use those functions to get rid of this. But Microsoft Excel in 2019 introduced a formula called the X function. The X function works better than the lookup function, because the X function, in the X function you have option of doing away with NA if the value cannot be found. You can decide to put in a value there, or you can decide to make it blank if the value is not found. But this is not available in lookup formula. But someone will ask now, okay, then why are we using lookup formula? If you have a system that is updated with the X formula, you can make use of the X formula. Check my videos, you will find a separate video I did on X formula, completely on X formula. So, but in a situation where you don't have the X formula, what do? We can as well use the VLOOKUP formula to create a payroll system like this. So now if I use this now to do my autofill down, I will automatically have the column for the net salary of this staff. And so if I now want to send to my bank for payment, and the information I need to send to the bank account, these are the information I need. Maybe this may be included, or let's say there's this, and then together with the net. So I can just simply do this together with the net, copy all this, and then take them to a new sheet. Then paste them there where I can just send that to the bank where payment will be made. So this is a very simple formula that we can use to create a payroll, a very simple payroll. We're talking about creating a payroll using the VLOOKUP function. Remember, all we did was to use the VLOOKUP to look up the basics, the housing allowance, to look up all of this. So it is possible that in the organization, all of these are already set in a template. So all you need to do is bring up all this value to a table and then use your lookup to look up the values. And that will give you a payroll system that will not stress you, for your work to be very, very easy to be done. Thank you. In case you have learned anything, you are able to capture anything from this video, just hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification button for subsequent videos that will be coming. We will be using this very template again to do another video where we'll be using the if formula. Then you can see that we'll be able to see the difference between the if formula and the lookup formula. And then we'll also be able to see that is the bottleneck between the VLOOKUP and the if formula. And also we will be also using the same template to do a video using the X formula. All this will be found in my channel. Thank you very much. You can leave your comments in the comment below. Tell me if you have any contribution to this particular video, or there is anything you want us to talk about. I will follow it up from there. Thank you very much, and see you in our next video.